Shailendra, okay. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Let's start. Okay, do you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it and hear you as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shailendra. It's a pleasure, a true pleasure to be here and to share some knowledge and experience. So I'm here to share some information, knowledge about how to optimize the mean time to respond to phishing threats. I prepared a presentation. It's more like a recipe, like the picture suggests. Like I said, the objective is to share how to optimize mean time to respond. I'll be explaining all of these in details. So if we jump in. My name is Raif Al-Bidawi. I'm an IT security professional, 15 years experience. I have passion for IT innovation and cybersecurity. I'm the head of cybersecurity at the DFSA, and I hold a number of professional security certifications that helps me do my job. A short disclaimer before we dive deep is the opinions I share here are my own and they do not represent my employer. So thank you. So on to phishing. I'll start with the basics, give a brief definition to our colleagues here that don't come from a security background. So phishing and spear phishing, two terms that we keep hearing. Phishing is a social engineering attack used to steal user data. And am I sharing the right screen?
Yes,
sorry.
we could see the animation and the deck, Raif.
Okay, sorry, I need to share it again.
No worries.
Yeah. So phishing and spear phishing. Phishing is a social engineering attack used to steal user data. So it can be an email sent from one of the services you use, a free email service provider saying we've updated our security, please log in here with your username and password. And the aim is to steal data. It can be an attachment sent to you, a malware that infects your PC. And again, the aim is to steal data or hold your ransom. We all have come across phishing attacks or spear phishing attacks one way or another, but many of us still actually fall for it. Spear phishing, on the other hand, is a phishing attack, but in this case, the malicious user sends it to a targeted group. They do some heavy reconnaissance to find out all about you, who your line managers are, who your CEO is, and they draft it in a way to actually suit your company. And they tend to have a higher success rate as in your users falling for them. And the difference between the two is the phishing attacks are sent to mass, so users of Gmail, for instance, whereas spear phishing is usually sent to a targeted group of users. In other words, the idea here is the two have very similar characteristics. And they will hold an attachment or they'll hold a link. And the idea again is to steal your data. Mean time to respond is another key term that we need to define. Mean time to respond is the average time it takes an organization to respond to an incident, whether it being a phishing incident, a denial of service attack, a malware attack. Regardless, it's how long does it actually take your company from the minute you become aware about an issue or an incident to the minute you actually take action. And one fact to mention about phishing attacks account for more than 80% of reported security incidents. So 80% of reported security incidents had some sort of phishing involved. So it's a big percentage, and it's something that I guess we all need to tackle one way or another. There are many ways to reduce the risk of phishing. Things like email hygiene, and email hygiene being ensuring that your security, email security is tight, ensuring that you apply SPF, you apply DKIM, DMARC to ensure the identification. Others identify that the emails originated from your company. User education is, again, another key example of how you can reduce the impact of phishing. Educating user is amazingly powerful, and I'll share details in a second. Ensuring that your users are tested is another. There's an echo there. Yeah, so ensuring you test your users will ensure that they have the ability and the capability to spot and report phishing emails. And there are technical controls that can help reduce the risk as well. Controls that can be on your endpoint to help your users identify those, or controls that can be enabled on your email security gateway to that analyze URLs that are coming in and attachments. But phishing attacks still continue to be a problem to most organizations. And in a second, I'll be explaining how data analytics can be used to reduce the mean time to respond. So on to the recipe. If we start with the ingredients for this to work successfully, you have cyber agents, and I like to call them cyber agents, but in other words, they're your users. And I'll explain why I like to call them cyber agents. You need to educate your users on how to spot, how to read, and how to actually identify phishing emails quickly. And you can do this via webinars, hosting training sessions, or through learning and management system, particularly on how to spot phishing emails. And it's crucially important. You need to simulate, and simulation is basically testing your users' willingness to click on phishing emails or give away credentials or open attachments. And you can do this in multiple ways. You can either do it manually, so drafting an email that is phishing and being able to track it, or you can use one of the commercial tools that can actually facilitate and help you do this. And there's plenty of good ones out there in the market. Those three formulate your user intelligence, and it's a key ingredient in our recipe here. You need to also reward your users, and I'll explain why you need to reward them in a second. You can reward them with a cyber token. You can reward them with an email sent to all staff thanking the user that reported the first phish to the organization, and so on. I found it to be really powerful. We do it, and I've got some tips for you here. Try to gamify the experience, make it fun. Do not intimidate your users if they fail to spot phishing emails. Instead, support and educate them. Have one-on-ones to help them spot phishing emails, from the first look, and simulate, test them. Ensure that they actually are able to identify phishing emails. The objective here, the objective here is to make sure that it takes them literally seconds. And making it a second nature to identify phishing emails. By gamifying it, by rewarding them, by making it fun, you achieve the objective of actually getting them to willingly support you and support your security program by reporting those emails. And they will tend to compete on who's the first to report a phishing email. And they will get to a point where they can't actually tell the difference between what is a simulation, what is a test, and what's a real phishing attack. You also need a reporting mechanism, and this is usually offered by the phishing simulation providers. It's usually an add-in on your email client. So an add-in that gets added to your email client, and if users come across phishing emails, all they have to do is press a button and then it notifies the security team. Or more simply, if that's not available, it can be a mailbox that's set up to where users can forward phishing emails to you, and adding some notes. The idea and the objective of this is to be able to extract headers from the email, who the sender is, was there an attachment, was there an email link in the email, and so on. Then you need to vet and analyze those reports, ensuring that they are actually actionable, ensuring that you can rely on the user input, ensuring that you can take action on the information extracted from those emails. So how do we put it together? So in this example, we have a phishing email, similar to what you come across, saying you have a parcel that has arrived, its weight, making genuine, and click here to ensure you receive this parcel. A very simple phishing attack. It has some key information there. From the email, you'll be able to know who sent it, and it came through which email server. Does it have a link? Does it have an attachment? Who was it sent to? And you can extract all this information, and aggregate it using Splunk from your email gateway and from the report that you received, either through the phishing simulation provider or through the inbox that you're reading. So because you educate your users and you've tested them all the time, your cyber agents will report it to you. And when we say user intelligence, what you want is to be able to put a table like this with information about your users, how many emails they've reported, and that's phishing emails. So if that's basically the first example, Raif there has received 3 emails and he successfully reported all 3 simulations, which means you can rely on Raif's judgment to spot and report phishing emails. The same goes for Ali, Susan, Omar, and James, whereas Bob and Ahmed have only reported 2 emails. And then it's a threshold that you need to set yourself. Can you actually rely on Bob and Ahmed, or would you rather report on users that have over the time repeatedly reported phishing emails to you, and they were in fact phishing emails? So we like to call those numbers a phishing score. Again, it represents the user's ability to spot, detect, and report phishing emails. Like we said, you need a reporting mechanism, and that can either be an API call to your phishing simulation provider to get this information and to basically allow the users to report, or through the add-in, like we said. And the add-in will help you extract key information, such as, so in this attachment, we have the actual phishing email attached to the email, and it extracted some key information. This screenshot is taken from PhishMe, and it's suggesting that the user that has reported this email successfully in the past reported 3 simulations. So it's a user that you can trust his or her judgment. You also extract key information about the URLs that were in the email, and you can also extract information about the hashes and if there was an attachment, and other key information. So far we have a phishing email that's been reported by the cyber agent of users you trust, and you're able to extract the score from the reported email and extract key information such as the URL and so on. What can you do with this information? You then need to vet and analyze, and you need to create a formula. And the formula here is, call it a trigger. On the screen, it says 3 reports, same subject, of a score of 3 up to 10. In other words, this is saying if 3 users in your organization reported 3 emails that share the same subject, from 3 users of a score of 3 and above, then it's something suspicious. It's something serious. It's 3 of your trusted users that you trust their judgment, they have reported 3 emails that share the same subject. Here's an example here from Splunk. So this screenshot is from Splunk, like you can see, and the query reads index email, which is the index we use to ingest user reports. And we're searching for reports from users that have a score of 3 and above. So Fish reported 3 and above. We're grouping them by subject and filtering the subject that have been reported by 3 times or more. So 3 users reporting the same message, and their score is 3 and above. And this example has a subject of please join our new corporate WhatsApp group, which is obviously a phishing email. And it's information that you can rely on. It's been reported 41 times of users that have a score of 3 and above. Now, can you rely on this information to take automatic or manual action to reduce the time required to respond to phishing emails? Definitely yes, in my view at least. The same can be set up automatically to trigger in enterprise security, Splunk enterprise security. This example relies on a score of 10 and above, like the screen suggests. And the triggers, it will trigger a notable event that can then be analyzed by your analyst to take action. So on to action. You have a trigger, and it's a trigger about something that Splunk and your user intelligence believe to be highly suspicious. Your analyst can take automatic action to do things like blocking the sender, blocking the URL on your proxy, blocking the attachment on your EDR, or finding out who clicked the link from your proxy again, or who opened the attachment from your EDR, conducting further analysis on the attachments, or conducting further analysis on the UR. And potentially finding out who clicked, who hasn't, who opened the message and who hasn't. And once you're comfortable with the formula and the analysis, you can take automatic action to delete it from users' inboxes automatically. One note here to make is you can achieve same results using security orchestration solutions, but you ultimately need the same ingredients. So to recap, I've shared the recipe that relies on user intelligence, and that's education and simulation. You need a reporting mechanism, whether manual or through an add-in button. You need to be able to use that information, and in here we picked Splunk to demonstrate it. And you need a mechanism to take action. And again, that can be either automatic or action, and ultimately be able to optimize your organization mean time to respond to phishing threats. That was my presentation. I hope you found this to be useful, and I'm happy to take questions.
That was really great, Raif. And especially I like the part about gamifying, the security awareness specifically, because yes, we can always give some Q&As to the users, but as long as it's fun, it kind of sticks to their heads. And we have seen this time and again in a lot of customers. So 100% agree with that.
Yeah, it encourages them, and it becomes a competition to report, instead of feeling ashamed and feeling really bad about clicking. You should achieve the total opposite. Is it's fine to click. We all make mistakes, but the idea here is if you make a mistake, you need to let us know and learn how not to repeat that mistake.
100%. Guys, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them.
Thank you, Habib.
Okay, seems like there's no questions. So once again, Raif, thanks a lot. Really, really appreciate you taking the initiative to present in this user group. And we all know that you have been a cornerstone of this user group for past many years. I think past 6-7 years. So thanks a lot for being that. And we look forward for more sessions in the future from you as well.
No, thank you. Definitely, it's a pleasure to be here, and an honor actually to share information, with colleagues in the same industry facing the same challenges.
Amazing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, guys, with that, thanks to Raif once again, and we have our next speaker. I know he's one of the beloved Splunk consultants in the region, and to a lot of people who had talked about that, Mr. Asif is going to be speaking in the session today. They were all excited. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Asif. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi guys.
Perfect.
I'm really miss Dubai and Dubai customer, but what to do now? Now they moved me to the global team. So thank you guys for joining, and who guys know me. So salam alaikum in Arabic. Okay, so
perfect. So Asif, if you want, you can share your screen now.
Yeah, please give me 2 minutes. Yep. Share my screen. Perfect. Okay, guys. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, guys. Performance optimization. I think this is one of the biggest discussion point ever in the Splunk. Whenever I sitting with the customers, in the partners, in the user groups, they all are complaining about the performance. So today we have covered a lots of good stuff, and since many customer is now running Splunk from last more than 4 years, but this is the right time to review their configuration since they upgraded to the new environment. The Python 2 is no more, and they started with the new Python version. So there's a lots of things has been implemented previously, but we need to now you need to now review again back your configuration. So let's have a quick review and what we can see, and we have some performance statistics which we have collected from the different customer implementations. So I hope you will enjoy this session. Okay, my quick info. More than 5 years. Further information you can find in my LinkedIn. Okay, so today talk about the performance issues and tips and tricks for the optimization deployments. So performance everything. So this is the exactly slide said, like whenever you have a Splunk and when you are being getting a very good result. So your organization wants to be say, hey, put more investment and I need a performance. I need a performance. These are the very repeated common issues. I have seen many customers, whenever I discuss with them what's the Splunk problem, they say Splunk is very slow. I cannot see the alerts on time. My CPU, my IT ops guys complain that Splunk process high CPU utilization. Whenever I search my data, this search is queued. Or it's an open session. So if you have any other issues, feel free to drop the question in the chat. Once I will finish my session, I'll try to give you the answer on the chat that what you can do and from where you start to troubleshoot your issues. So the first thing what we start with for the indexer optimization, usually from the customer who running the Splunk coming from the 6.5 version, then 7, now the 8 and 8.1. They didn't see that this is one of the greatest things is being Splunk implementing, which is that TXCDX file. Usually this is the storage of, this is the space where your metadata writes the information. Since now the Splunk improves and they brings a new code which improves the performance code as well. So this TXCDX writing level you need to be increased. This will significantly reduce your TXCDX file size and they improve the overall your system performance. We have some test result, and if you can see here, and this is the blue line which we have seen the customer which has not been using this, and once we implement it, and then you can see here their index services, they actually is gone. I mean, they're not using at all the CPU. So this is the one of the very good stuff. You guys must make sure that you are doing the right place, since this have something that you cannot revert it back, and make sure you are being running doing the configuration with the correct version. So Splunk recommend to decrease as much as refer to the version side, because this is required some version limitation. You cannot go with the versions. So yeah, there's some questions coming. Okay, go. Okay, guys. So yeah, so you should follow the Splunk guide, and that what was their maximum number of the configuration you can go. I believe the Splunk 8.0 version you can go with the 3, but since 8.2 version you can even go with the writing level 4 as well. Yep. Okay. ZSTD compression.
Asif, probably a question from my side. Sorry to interrupt you. On the previous one, it just kind of this question just clicked to me. Can we make these settings to an existing index, or do we need to do this on a new index only?
No. You can easily enable the on existing indexes. You just need to add this. This is the index level configuration. You just apply on your existing one, but make sure that on which version you are trying to apply, go back to the Splunk docs and verify which version you are using. I believe this is you can increase this number from starting with the Splunk 7.3 version and above. But yes, you need to go back your existing configuration and review the Splunk doc that what's the maximum number you can go with your Splunk code.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, another thing which is very good thing Splunk introduced, which is the ZSTD compression. This is the compression is actually used by the Facebook as well. Since starting Splunk 7.3 version and the 7.2 version, higher version, you can go with ZSTD. This significantly reduced your IO operations on your storage side when you are trying to write the data, and they also improve the performance. Basically, when you are storing the data, it's all the data stored in the bucket size. Whenever the buckets grow, it's zip it and stored in the location. Whenever you search the data, so actually the algorithm is going to search with the txtdx file, which we discussed previous slide. Then second step, they're going to find the bucket and unzip the bucket. Whenever you zip the bucket and unzip the bucket, they're all based on the compression. So this having a very the faster results whenever you have uncompressed and compressed the data. So you can see here in the some screenshots that we have some implemented this one, and then customers significantly reduce the CPU timeline, and also they improve the IO service delay and the IO stats. And this configuration will be implemented. You can go with the global, and you can also go with the per index. And again, this configuration you can go with the any time, even your existing configuration. But you cannot, once you implement it, that you cannot revert it back to the old. So make sure that if you are going to implement, you shouldn't be revert back this configuration. Okay. Okay. Increase the indexes memory. By default, each index is being used by 5 megabit memory from your index server. This number you can increase on those indexes where you have a high volume of indexing rate. This is one of the benchmark which have recently covered with the customer, that you can see they have some latency count. So this is actually we are getting the delay, that if the event is originated and still writing to the disk. For example, you are been generating the event at 1 a.m. and how much it takes time till from collecting to the storing end. This is, so you can see here, since previously they implemented the 5 MB per indexes, and the customer is getting so customer is getting like minus 200 ms delay. Since they increase the number of the memory, the response time is decreased to minus 50 milliseconds. So it means within the 50 milliseconds that from the data collection point of view till storage is stored in your index, and it's available for the search. But a very important note that you must see, it's not to implement for your all index. This first thing. Second thing, you only implement this configuration on the indexes where you see they have a high volume of data coming, high ingestion rate on the indexes. And also you must review your available memory resources, because by default, most of the customer, they just follow the Splunk recommendation for the best practices in whatever the memory available. But if you're going to implement a large scale of servers, you must review your memory configuration. Okay. Okay. Search optimization. Lots of customers are also talk about like, hey, I have a lots of CPU, I have a lots of, we configure the memory, we doesn't see any CPU utilization, but still whenever I require to search the data, the result coming very slowly. Yes, by default, Splunk controls the configuration. Splunk control the configuration, and they design the solution where all the things will be running smoothly. But there is a configuration, like not all the customer using the single box, they have a distributed environment, and where you can optimize the configuration to enhance your search performance. Yes, so this is one of the configuration batch max pipeline. By default, it's 1. It means that whenever from the search head you will search any query, and whenever the search going to go in the indexer, it will take the one session, one query, or take the one CPU to search your data and bring the result to the search head. You can increase this number with the 2, but make sure whenever you are going to implement anything, you have available resources on indexer, because this configuration is significantly going to apply and create the workload on the indexer side. From the search side, you already have the search capacity, but you also need to review your indexer CPU capacity. So you can see the result, like we have some customer when we have implemented the single batch line performance, and the searches, it takes like more than 500 millisecond to respond, and averagely like 400, 500. Once we implement the batch search pipeline, most of the searches is completing in the less than 100 and 150 milliseconds, which is great. Okay, another tweak for the search optimizer. I know that many customers is been running with the real-time searches, and they want everything is real-time, all searches to be real-time, all use cases to be real-time. But whenever you implement the real-time, the search is actually need some required time to bring the data. Of course, in the same time, the data is writing, and also you are trying to read. So we have seen that in the previous slide that we reduce the delay with the 50 millisecond, but we can see that if you are not configured such tuning configuration, your delay is -200, and this can be more if you have a high stress environment. So in the same situation, if you have a configured such kind of real-time searches, that takes a lot of effort to bring the data. So you have IU blocking, you have a search time blocking, you have a disk IO issues. And because the data is still arrived in the hot bucket, and they need a time to be settled down and to be indexed, and all the metadata need to be created. So this configuration, if you are using with the optimizer search performance, yes, this real-time searches is actually just increase some delay when the disk writing, but and at the same time it's actually not put so much load on your IO side. Yeah. Search bundles matters. Of course, most of the customers, when they have a large lookups running, I have seen that customer, they have a lookups is like more than a 50 MB or 60 MB or 100 MB. They have a threat intelligence find, download from the various threat intelligence feeds, from taxi, from anomaly, and the big lookups file. And some customer, they're actually using in the correlations, having a multiple lookups file they have combined, and then create a one single lookup file which they use in the use case, and to match the stuff. And this will be a everyday incremental, since the all the lookups are being all the threat intelligence feeds be updating on scheduler basis. Whenever this file is actually stored in the search head metadata, whenever you send the query to the indexer, this actually creates a bundle and go to the indexer, because that was the knowledge object which returns the result along with this information. So this is actually produce a lot of IO operations, and also takes a lot of a network traffic while we going in the bundle, producing the bundle, uploading the bundle. So how we can fix it? So this is something you can implement in your search head. Just create a this search.conf file, and these are some of the my useful example. I'm mostly working with the customer, so like all of the Python scripts which is we have available in the most of the new TAs, scripted inputs, and all the stuff which is placed in the bin directory, blacklist, all the CSV file. One of the most important, that they have an application called lookup editor, and most of the customer using to create the lookup file in lookup file. So yes, so this will actually create the backup as well. So once you will be see this kind of app install, you must go and see this implement this this search. So how you can verify that what is your bundle site? So you just go in your indexer and go to this location, Splunk home var learn, and you will see that the bundle size is ending with the with .bundle extension. So you just unzip this one, and you can find that what are the things are in my bundle. So go and take the one of the stanza and implement in your this search.conf. And also the one of the most important, like TS and props and transform. Yes, whenever you install an app which is doesn't require to be installed, many customers, they just install the app which contains the prop transform and just leave it. Oh, I don't using, leave it this one, leave it this one. They have a lots of app, but every app comes with the props and transform which is including in the bundle. So whenever you are seeing that app is no more required, just open the app, put in the disabled state, remove the app. This is kind of things you can start as a admin task. And you should clean your environment whenever doing the Splunk configurations. Yeah. There is some tunings from the UI performance side. So yes, there is some the basic stuff you can implement. Search cache you can improve whenever you have in the UI when the people say, oh, my UI getting hanged, so I need to cache more events. Yes, there is a scheduler. This is from, I think they're coming from many years that you should set this scheduler configuration. Also, there is some search had quota role enforcement, because by default, this is the quota based on the instance. You can define the quota as your cluster base as well. And the one of the most important is a lookup configuration. So by default, in the new version, this is a 25 MB, but in the previous version, this is a 10 MB. So whatever the thing means, if you have a lookup file size is the 25 MB, and if you're trying to use in your search, yes, these all searches actually stored in your index. So if you have a lookup file more than 25 MB, so they will ignore the memory function. So they're trying to restore in your index, and then it reads from there, because the memory cannot hold more than 25. So yes, if you have such kind of error, you must go and review the lookup file. And if you think that my lookup file is more than 25 meg, you just go and increase this number with your acceptable number. I'm not saying to go and increase this number with the 100 MB. No, but the thing is, you need to see, since you have done the previous slide, you have a blacklisted, but even the blacklisted, you need the search as well. But the searchable, you know that you have a threat intelligence file, which is like more than have a millions record, or you have a 10 million record, and this file is greater than 25 meg, yes, you should go and implement this memory. So whenever you're doing the search, so all the lookups in metadata will be stored in the memory, which gives you the faster results. Okay, forwarding optimization. I have most of the customers has been complaining that my indexer is not optimizedly working. I have seen that one of the indexer is being 100%, but the rest of the other server is very less utilization. And after a few minutes, the other server you utilize high, and the remaining server is being less. So actually, by default, in the Splunk configuration, it's designed to load balance the configuration. But in the load balancing the configuration, it's been based on the each 30 second. And this by default is being implemented. But this configuration you can implement you can add the time-based force auto balance, and you can set the volume size. So what they will do is actually your size. This is the configuration based on a 10 megabit. So of course, this configuration not good for the universal forwarder, but some customer also using the syslog server as on universal forwarder to reduce the footprint. So yes, this can applicable on universal forwarder, heavy forwarder, based on your requirement. Again, this is not recommend to the agents, because the agents having the 30-second delay, which is fine, because you have many agents which is sending the data. Reducing this auto frequency increase the number of connection on the indexer, which is not good. But if you have a case when you have a universal heavy forwarder running, which is collecting some syslog data, some netflow data, or some other kind of high throughput traffic, yes, you can go and use this feature, and you can enable the frequency. You can reduce this frequency and define the volume. So if your one data bundle will be a 10 megabit or less than 10 megabit, if they will reach to the 15 second, they switch to the another indexer. Or if you reach this 10 megabit, it will switch to another one. So you can see here by implementing this one, the indexer is now indexing very smoothly. So you can see here before this one, this is the indexer utilization, but after once we implement this one, the indexer data rate is increased, and they were very well managed. Another thing, like in most of the data source time, whenever the admins implementing the custom transform and problem and parsing the new data sources, they actually not follow the standards. But at least you should do this line breaker events in the props and transform, which actually significantly help universal forwarder and heavy forwarder to optimize the transfer, and they will cut down the event efficiently. So yeah, so from other recommendation side, from the OS tuning, I have always discussion with the OS that what was the OS recommendation and how they're working in the virtualization, because nowadays most of the customer, 90% customer using the virtualized environment, and whenever saying which environment is the best, virtualized environment or the bare metal. Of course, bare metal is more robust, and when we have a statistics calculation, we actually if you have a same resources, if you have a bare metal of 24 cores, and if you have a bare metal of VMware guest machine, we actually calculate to decrease the performance 10 to 15 to 20% as overall. So if you have a bare metal, yes, you can handle more data, but if you have a VMware, they just have a performance degradation, but it's not like in a good scale, but yes, there is the performance degradation. So yeah. So what you to avoid this thing, what you need to do, you need to proper tune your smartness level. You must go with the latest version of OS, because they have always the new kernel. They have a very good configurations. Reserve the hardware resources in the VMware guest side. I know that some of the VMware new version doesn't have a reservation option. So at least you reserve the 50% of the resources. Like if you have allocated the 24 ports and they have some megahertz calculation, you just go and at least assign to the 50% of the resources. That the 50% resource shouldn't go to any other OS. Also, there is some IO scheduler configuration that if you have a what do you call the storage vendor has been connected and they have the IO schedule they implemented. So yes, you make sure they have a no op will configure in the disk writing configuration. Also, there is some performance benchmark. As much as you can find the performance benchmark, do that as after a month and after 2 months, because once you will start your organization, you will start the new storage, you have a test your IOPS, everything is good. But whenever you think that when you have a lots of application being used by your storage admin, and they're running many applications on the same storage, so you might get the performance issues. And yes, the Splunk admin must go and review the configuration as much as possible whenever they just perform the IOPS testing, FIO testing. Splunk recommending the method how to do it. And of course, another thing, transparent huge pages. Always Splunk recommend to put in the admin's configuration whenever you have a VM hardware. So you should put in your base configuration whenever the admins create the configuration. Make sure they disable from the by default configurations. Yeah. And that's it. It's my slide. And thank you. Question and answer, please.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Asif. That was, I think, a lot of information packed in, in one slide. So yeah, guys, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. You have Asif here on the line.
Habib.
So,
hi, Habib.
Yeah.
Hi,
ask
Asif.
whatever you want.
Nice to hear you after a long time.
Yes, Habib.
So, just realized that I'm getting a free PS session from you. Excellent.
PS is not free.
So just a couple of quick short questions.
Yep.
Now you talked about this RT real-time search performance, right?
Yep.
Now by this trade-off of moving, detecting those things from pipeline to index, there is a trade-off, right? That actually delays the real-time alert generation, for instance. But at the same time, what is the performance improvement you have seen? Is it like only on IO, or is there any other performance improvement?
So the thing is, if you can see some of the backend slides that the searches, actually these are all the search is based on 1 by 1 session. starting from the memory, starting from the CPU side, starting from the indexes configuration. The actual our goal is to reduce the delay while they are searching the data. That was our actual goal. And second, whenever you search the data, you shouldn't utilize your too much resources. Means if I have a CPU, my CPU should not take too much while I'm doing some work. So that was the whole thing, the whole objective for performance optimization. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So so there is real improvement on non-IO as well if we implement this. Yeah.
Yes.
Even in the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's not like to be start the configuration from the day first. You need to start this configuration from the indexer side. From the indexer side, the indexer is actually improves the performance. Actually, from indexer is the main source. When you improve the indexer, it's impact everywhere. But everyone recommend that you shouldn't go and implement all the configuration one go. No. This required to be at times taking stuff like let's plan for the what are the things improve we can do for the indexes that let's do it and see there. Let's the focus toward the how much CPU. You just go in the monitoring console and take the screenshot that what are the performance optimization, performance utilization before and what is the after. Whenever I search the data, how much is take time for searching the data and how much take time for right now the searching the data. You just take the one search query which is like 5 minutes. How much takes time to complete, and then the same search query with the same kind of event. Let's do it after one week and see what are the result is different. So yeah, these are the small tweaks. It actually brings a lot of good performance.
Yeah, just one more short one, Asif. So you
Sure.
again related to the lookup blacklist configuration.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
this is recommended only for those lookups that are not updated from another search, right? For example, if a lookup is part of, let's say, TA, which gets, let's say, deployed from the deployer to all searched, and if it is static until you upgrade the TA, it makes sense. But if those lookups are getting updated, then if you remove replication, then we'll have inconsistency in data, yeah?
No, this will be applicable for all even real-time updated. So what is happening, whenever you create the lookup, it's actually bundled in your request. So whenever you search the query, whenever you search the data, say this is as like working as a knowledge object. So it will bundle in your request and go to the indexer and search the data. So this bundle is keep increasing, because the search result need to match the result with this knowledge bundle, like your props, your transform, and they need to. So
sorry, Asif, I'm talking about the other one, replication black. This is the same thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So anything will be going in this bundle. So yes, once you will remove this one from this bundle. So whenever you search the data, you will always search the data on the search head, and you will get this information at your search head. But yes, your second question is correlated that how much the size. So the size is different thing. The sizing of this one is actually MB is on the search head. So even you search the data and you require to be bring in your search query. So one thing you improve in the bundle. So now the bundle reduce and they faster move the data, but it's also need to correlate on your search side. So this required in the search head side. So by default, this limit is 25. So yes, if you have this this requirement that your lookup size more than 25, yes, you need to increase this number. So the search, the UI can handle this configuration, the result in the memory, which is faster.
Thank you, Asif. Thanks for the good session.
Any other question, guys? I think my time is just another 10 minutes. Oh, is there? You have 10 minutes, Shalanda?
If there are no questions, then then we can stop it. But yeah, if guys you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. And now is the time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Yeah. So now we are on to our final and last session. And we have with us Dr. Mehdi, as we like to call him. Mr. Mehdi. So what I'll do is I'll make you a co-host, and you can start sharing your screen. And again, this is one of the very interesting topics of how you can bring data from Kafka into Splunk for doing additional analytics. So Dr. Mehdi, the floor is all yours.
All right, cool. Thanks, Shai. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, cool. So you should be able to see my screen.
Yes,
So
we
you will
see
see
a terminal
presentation, right?
Yep, we can.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks for having me. Very happy to be presenting at this event. And so basically, we'll talk about Splunk Kafka Connect. So a bit of introduction about myself before we start. Aside from being a fashion model, as you can see on the picture, I'm a sales engineer in Splunk. I've been in the company for 3 years now, been in Dubai for 8 years. I've been in the security business for quite a while now. I initially started in networking and then I moved to security. From a personal side, I'm a big fan of martial arts, and I have 2 beautiful kids that I'm very proud of. So that's it for me. So just a bit of introduction. This is what we will cover today. So I won't bore you with the theory. I will just cover briefly some of the concepts related to Kafka. I will talk about the different use cases, and then I will jump straight away into Splunk Kafka Connect. So we'll actually see how you can leverage Splunk Kafka Connect to collect data from Kafka that initiate from syslog, for example, okay, or from other locations. And then I will demo. So I will give you lots of resources, right? I actually did that in my free time. So I had someone asking me, how do we collect data from Kafka? And I realized we didn't actually have a demo. And I'm like, let me work on that. And this is how it started. And there you go. I ended up presenting here. So I will show you a quick demo, and I will explain to you what resources I actually used. And I will give you basically, a tutorial, like step by step. All right, so a bit of introduction about Kafka. It's actually a community distributed event streaming platform, which is very scalable. Okay, it can handle a huge volume of events. It can be distributed as well, so it's very resilient, reliable as well. And it was created and open source by LinkedIn in 2011, and it's now maintained mainly by Conference under the stewardship of Apache, and it's widely used across the globe. Okay. So some of the Kafka concepts, right? So I'm setting the scene here because it's important that you understand the terminology. So first you have the producers, which are the client applications that will publish events to the Kafka topics, right? We have the consumers. So it's a pub sub kind of pub sub kind of model. So consumer will actually subscribe to the topics, what we call the topics. Okay, you can have Kafka cluster. So Kafka scales horizontally. So Kafka cluster consists of 1 or more servers running Kafka. And then basically you have in each cluster, you have like brokers. So a broker is Kafka server, which runs in a Kafka cluster. And then you have the controller, which is basically the brain of the cluster. So a big part of what the controller does is to maintain consistency of the replicas and determine which replicas can be used to serve the clients. Okay, there used to be a dependency on Zookeeper, which is not the case anymore. But Zookeeper basically was used manage consensus on a distributed state. So, the controller election, cluster membership, topic configuration, etc. Then you have the concept of a topic. So the topic is a collection of related messages or related events. Okay, you can create as many topics as you want, and the topics are actually divided into one or more partitions. And the partitions are used for replication purposes. Okay, as we'll see later on. So you have the principle of offset to keep track of the order at which the messages actually arrive. And then again, you can replicate. So you can replicate the topic, so the partitions basically across the different brokers. So should you lose a broker, you don't lose any data. Okay, so same concept as the indexer clustering, kind of. So here you can see the very simplistic Kafka architecture, right? So you have on the left side producer, on the right side consumer, and then you have basically your Kafka cluster. And then you will have in the cluster, you have like, as many, well, not as many, but you have like the brokers, and then the data will be replicated across the brokers. Right, so you will have the topic, which will be broken down into partition, and each broker will have a copy of the partition. Okay, makes sense so far, so good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, cool. So what are the benefits of using Kafka? It scales, right? It scales, it's super fast. Right, it's very high performance, it's real time, it's a very suitable architecture. If you think of the microservices, for example, right? So we used to have like monolithic kind of model where you will have one application and the database, right? It's not the case anymore. Now you have like, it's broken down into microservices. So Kafka basically streamlines the communication between all these different services. That's a use case, right? It's distributed. So as I said earlier, you can have cluster with many brokers. It's fault tolerant. You have persistent storage as well, right? Yeah, have stream processing. And then the cool thing is you don't have to create so many integration, right? So let's say that, you have like, I don't know, 6, 12 systems. You don't have to create one integration for each of them, right? So the data needs to go to this one, to this one. What protocol should I use? What format should I use, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of remove this challenge, okay? So now you can just have one, Kafka cluster with all your topics, and then you can have basically the various consuming the same topic instead of sending the data to all of them and then have to create all these integrations. So Kafka can be used for many purposes. It can be used as a messaging system, activity tracking, application log gathering, or it can be used for integration with big data technologies like Splunk, for example. It can collect data from many systems with Splunk Kafka, with Kafka Connect. Okay, so what is Kafka Connect? All right, so basically, Kafka Connect are kind of an ecosystem, right? So Kafka ships with all these different pluggable connectors. Okay, so those are like client applications which are running outside the cluster, and it's designed to be scalable and fault tolerant as well. You can have a cluster of connect worker, and basically what it does, having these connectors, it actually abstracts lots of the code development. Okay, so basically it's for the integration. So you have a Kafka, you have a Kafka Connect for the database, for example. You have a Kafka Connect for Salesforce, etc. Right? So you don't need to actually write these connectors. They will ship with Kafka. So they have been written already. You have like, quite a vast repository out there. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. What you need to do is just write the configuration in a JSON, okay? And then again, you have the source connectors, which are the producers, and you have the sync connectors, which are the consumers. And again, that will help integrate very easily with databases, with syslog. So for example, when it comes to my syslog configuration, I actually use Kafka Connect, right? It's very handy, very useful. So Splunk Kafka Connect, right? So what are the benefits of Splunk Kafka Connect? So basically the fact that it's scalable, as we discussed earlier, it kind of removes the dependency for the universal forwarder or heavy forwarder. Some some companies are not big fan of agents. It makes the configuration quite how do you say flexible. So you can actually use the REST API. So you can use your automation tool. So you can use like Puppet, Shape, and Sybil, you name it. The push is leveraging HTTP event collector, right? So it's agentless, it scales, and you have various type of how do you say deployment methods. So you can, sorry, not deployment, but data collection. So you can send the data to your heavy forwarder tier or directly to your indexers, and then you can load balance actually in various different ways. Flexible data onboarding, so raw or event endpoint into HTTP event collector. And very importantly, it's actually Splunk supported. We had another add-on before, and it has been deprecated. So now if you want to integrate with Kafka, this is what you need to use, Splunk Kafka Connect. And again, in terms of architecture, here on the left side, you have your Kafka ecosystem with, again, your Zookeeper, your publishers, your Kafka Connect cluster. And then basically you can use an external load balancer, and you can load balance directly to your heavy forwarder or to your indexers. Okay. Alternatively, you can do a point connector to a comma separated list of URI into HEC, and the connector will automatically load balance in a round robin fashion. Okay, that's another alternative. All right, cool. So I'm going to jump into demo now. Do you have any questions so far? Is it clear?
So Mehdi, just one quick clarification. Now, when you say we can, let's say, push syslogs to Kafka Connect,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether it's getting covered in the demo or not, but where does it exactly come? So syslog being received by Splunk Kafka Connect, then stream it to an HEC endpoint, or I mean,
let me show you. Let me show you. I know it's confusing, so I'm going to show you now. So all right, so basically you can see here. All right, so if I go to my syslog, directory, and here I have a, sorry, I have a configuration file called kafka.conf. Okay, and you can see here. So basically, it's on the same. By the way, it's on the same same machine. Everything is on the same machine. Okay, so my syslog, my Kafka, and my Splunk Kafka Connect agent as well. So everything is here. But you can see here, basically, what I'm doing is I'm getting the messages from var log messages, and I'm sending everything to my Kafka brokers. Okay, so I use Kafka C here, which is Kafka Connect. And then I choose the topic. Okay, and here, if you go to your Kafka environment. And I don't want to retype the command, so I'm going to just copy it here. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the topic. So there is a topic called test, and I'm going to read this topic from the beginning. And there you go. Okay, so you can see here that all my syslog messages have been written to my topic, okay, which is the test topic. All right, and now basically what you will need to do is you will need to get Kafka Connect, Splunk Kafka Connect, to get this information. So to get all the messages into this topic and to send over to Splunk. Does that make sense?
Okay, understood. Yeah.
All right. So don't worry, we'll become a bit more clear or a bit clearer actually. But
Thank you.
just you're welcome. Just a few steps. So this is how I did it in my environment. So if you want to, replicate it in your environment, if you want to test it, I can share everything with you. I would be very happy to, even if you have, if you have issues, just let me know, because I faced a few issues along the way. So I kind of, I have developed some skills in troubleshooting Kafka. But basically here, what you want is to install the Kafka broker first. So you want to install a JDK beforehand, and then basically, install the archive, extract it, and place it in a specific directory, and then just basically do some editing of the configuration, and then you just start your Kafka servers. Okay, your Kafka server. Sorry. Now there is a document which explains how to. So basically, you have here all the different data collection mechanism. So, whether you want to leverage the universal forwarder or the HTTP event collector or Kafka with HEC, which is basically what I'm doing here. And here you have step by step. Okay, so there you go. It's all here, right? It's all explained. Okay, but you have some prerequisite. Okay, so what I did myself, I compiled syslog. Okay, so I went and download version 3.17 or something like that, and I compiled everything myself. Right? You can do that. You don't have to do that. Okay, you can use containers now, and you will get everything. You don't have. I like to make my life harder. You don't have to. But if you want to compile syslog, you need all these prerequisites here. So you will need a compiler like GCC, and you need all of this basically. Okay. So this is for syslog. And then once you have done this, so you have installed Kafka, you have compiled syslog, and you have installed syslog. So the next step is to get Kafka Connect or Splunk Kafka Connect, and you can get Splunk Kafka Connect directly from GitHub. Okay, so you will see here the latest release. And I mean, everything is very straightforward. Like you can see here the requirements. So what do you need? You need the Kafka, you need Java 8, you need the Splunk environment, of course, that goes without saying. And here you can clone the repo. Myself, I downloaded the Java file directly. And then you have some configuration to amend. So inside this file specifically, so you have to point to the plugin path. So if I go to, let me go to right. Okay, so okay, so okay, all right, yeah, sorry. So okay, so here they go. So you can see here, sorry, you have to point at the plugin file. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. My file is actually, my Splunk Kafka Connect file is actually in, you know, this directory. Okay, so this is basically what I'm doing, and then you will need to start your Kafka Connect. So how do you do that? Okay, so here I'm going to just copy and paste. Maybe, you know what? So you need to go to share, sorry, local bin, okay. And you need to type this command here. So there you go. Okay, so that's the command. So you tell the command to start your distributed, connect distributed shell, and then to point to this connection configuration file. Okay, so I swear I had prepared everything earlier, and then I got disconnected of the environment, and there you go. This is what happened. Okay, we should be good to go. No, we're not. Okay, sorry, I know why. Okay, I was already in the bin, so I don't need to type that. I can just type this, and there you go. Okay, so basically now my environment has started, and then the next step, what you need to do is to actually specify your configuration. Okay, so what do you need to specify? So you need to specify your indexes. Where do you want to send the data? You need to specify your topic, right? So where do you want to collect data from? You also need to specify your IP, of course. So your Splunk IP address or DNS name, and you need to specify the HTTP token, which you can get here. So if you go to, hang on just a sec, data inputs here, and HTTP event collector, you can see that I have created a token, and that's the one I actually want to use. Okay, so let me just show you quickly. I should have it somewhere here. So instead of, yeah, there you go. All right, so this is basically, that's basically what you have to specify here. You can specify much more than that. Okay, so you can specify additional metadata, but here, just for the sake of demonstrating, I just basically, you know, specify the URI of my indexer, the HTTP token. Do I want to have acknowledgement? No, I don't. Do I want to validate the certificate? No, I don't. Careful with this. You might face an issue with the certificate validation. Okay, and basically, once you do that, what will happen? Once you run this, what will happen is that Splunk Kafka Connect will collect the data from your topic, from the topic that you have specified here. So remember, this is where all of your syslog data is actually going. And if you go and search the data, I'm not going to do it now because I have retrieved data earlier, so I can show you. But you should be able to see, there you go, see last 24 hours. You should be able to see syslog data coming directly into Splunk. You can see here, the source type is actually HTTP event. And you can see the source is Kafka. And there you go. Nice and easy. Well, I hope it seemed nice and easy. But I mean, like, I can share all these links with you guys. Okay. And there is like a troubleshooting page as well when it comes to Splunk Kafka Connect. But honestly speaking, it was pretty straightforward, right? So any question? Is that clear? Hope it was useful.
Just a comment here, Mehdi. I think this is
Yes.
very useful, and we see the demand there in many customers already that are using Kafka, even for business applications, right? Now, a comment here is that the Splunk Connect for Kafka can also be used for Confluent, which is kind of, instead of using Kafka open source, Confluent is Kafka Enterprise Edition. And Confluent also has some premium applications for data collection, and it supports Splunk to Splunk protocol as well.
Yeah,
so just
absolutely.
to highlight, for those who are using Confluent, it will be the same method for data collection.
Thanks, Luis. Much appreciated. Any other question, input, something you want to share?
All good, Mehdi. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mehdi. Very useful.
Thanks a lot, Mehdi. Yeah, it was really useful. And once again, thank you for, I put you on the spot as well. So thank you for actually taking out the time to prepare this presentation. And as you can see, that's why we call him Dr. Mehdi, right? Because he always finds his way around. Cool. So yeah, man, no worries. Our pleasure. So once again, guys, thanks a lot for taking out the time. I know 90 minutes is a long time, but we had a lot of stuff to cover. If you want to reach out to us, you want to talk about, some other cool things in the next session, feel free to drop us an email. We anyway send out these email addresses as part of our emailers as well. And you can also join us on Slack to kind of continue the discussion further, right? So with that, I think we are exactly on time. Really appreciate everybody's time and patience and the participation in the discussions as well. I think it was quite useful for other people. Before I close this session, any last comments, thoughts? Anybody wants to say something?
I'll
leave the floor open.
I want to leave another comment. Kudos to you, man, for organizing this.